just rather not. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Pflugerville. We appreciate you being here. Today we're talking about words. And it's really Bobby. Bobby's not here today. But the conversation has been the 12 powers of man. We kind of messed with it. We were talking about faith, which is actually in the pineal gland. And of the 12 powers, faith is the beginning. We have to have faith and understand that we're a child of God and that we are actually an expression of divinity. And we have these powers that have been latent because we don't believe they're there. And we've allowed the world to convince us that we're not good enough. Anybody familiar with that idea?
Yeah.
And so the underlying culture keeps us, let's say, subservient to the beliefs that are in the culture. And we're saying that we have to have faith to break out of that and become the Christed being that we are. But it takes time to do that. And then once you do that, how do you start doing that? And one of the paths, if you will, is the words that we speak. And the words that we speak have power. Now, just quickly, and this is kind of extemporaneous, quantum physics, we know that everything is energy. And we know that everything is energy at a high rate or a lower rate of vibration. And the only thing that separates things is the vibration at which it is vibrating. And sound is nothing more than vibration. Everybody there? And as I'm speaking to you, my the box, what is that called? The voice box, the larynx, is vibrating, and then my mouth is controlling what comes out of that. But there's a frequency generated from that conversation. And that frequency is one of the powers of man. And as a matter of fact, in the 12 Powers of Man, Charles Fillmore uses, and I'm going to read this for you. He says in this book, by the way, I think we have a couple on the back table if somebody wants them. He says the power center is the throat, in the throat, controls all vibratory energies of the organism. I'll say it again. The power center in the throat controls all the vibratory energies of the organism. So the words that we speak control the organism or who we are, and quantum physics will tell you that as we radiate energies, those energies go out into the ethers and form what we are speaking. So really, if you stop and think about it, does anybody ever try to control your thinking? In other words, don't think. The example I always use is don't think of a pink elephant. Okay? Stop. But see, once that suggestion is made, it's difficult to change it. And the only way to change it is put another thought in. So go to a normal gray elephant. Everybody there at the gray elephant?
Yeah.
And since thinking is so difficult to control, the only thing we really have control over is the words we speak. Because we can slow down, get control of our speech, and speak words. Everybody there? So in the words that we speak, they have vibration. Now, do you ever notice that you like to be around certain people and you don't like to be around others? Matter of fact, David, thank you. When you walked in, you felt the energies. I knew you did. I could tell. Okay, now I used to hang out in places the energies weren't very good. I'm not going to go there. But you could actually feel the negative energy when you walked into those places. And of course, to me, it was exciting, you know. But today I understand that I need to put myself, or have myself, in places that are of a good energy. And how are those energies established? By the words we speak. So, the Bible, are you ready for this? This comes from my long fundamentalist tradition, okay? And in Matthew, Jesus says, now Jesus is the authority we speak from, okay? Matthew 12, it's actually Matthew 12, 33 or so through 37. 37 is, for by your words shall ye be justified, and by your words shall ye be found guilty. Okay, now in the other translation, it is you shall be condemned. But the word justified, and I had to look it up. I looked it up in the dictionary this morning, believe it or not. Justified, declared, or made righteous in the sight of God, innocent or guiltless. So our words produce the things that we want. Everybody there? And guilty is responsible for wrongdoing. So we, by our words, can be responsible for the wrongdoing that we see in our life. Isn't that exciting? Hello? Okay? And then it goes on, it's really interesting here. It says, how can you speak good things when you are bad? For the mouth speaks from the fullness of the heart. And we know heart is another word for subconscious mind or inner beliefs. Course of Love speaks about learning to connect the mind with the heart. Valerie, in her meditation, asked us to slow down and connect the heart with divine mind. And you see, the thing to understand is there's only one mind, and that's divine mind, which is connected, which is part of all who we are. So when we learn to connect the heart with the mind, we are thinking more divine thoughts, or coming from our spiritual self, not our physical self. So it's really kind of fascinating. Now, okay, I'm thinking about how deep to go. Do you want to go real deep?
Bring it.
It's really fascinating. There's a lot of work being done now. Throughout history, the metaphysical interpretations of the Bible and of the let's call it the mystics, has been there's power for good in the universe, which is the first principle of unity. That all there is good, there isn't anything else. And that anything that appears that is other than good is the absence of good. In other words, that light up there, everybody look at the light, and you see it? Now, if you turn that light on and off, it becomes dark. But there is no energy called dark. There's only energy called light. So you have either light or absence of light. The same thing happens with hot and cold. Refrigeration people like Tommy will tell you, the way you get a room cool is you take heat out of the room. Or if you want to warm a room up, you put heat into the room. So there's an energy called heat. And the absence of heat is cold. So there's not an energy called cold, there's only a continuum called cold, which is the absence of heat. So all there is God. There isn't anything else other than God. And if you experience or I experience or we experience anything other than God, it's because we have allowed God to be not with us or in us. Through our words, we have denied that. So by the words we are justified, and the words we are found guilty or condemned. So the words we speak create the world we live in. Now, it gets really, really hairy if you go on into Paul. And Paul in Corinthians is talking, Romans, excuse me. And this was kind of confrontational for you, but I'm going to share it with you. Everybody ready? You sure?
Yes. Yes, for sure. Oh.
So Romans, no, I got to go back here. Okay, in Romans, do not imitate the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, that you may discern what is good and acceptable and the perfect will of God. And that is in the words that we speak. Then over here in Romans 12:17, recompense to no man evil for evil. Now, truthfully, I had to look up the word recompense. And so it's a recompensate, which literally means don't play tit for tat. Anybody familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay, like I'm looking at Doug, and if Doug does something to me, I got to do it back to him, which is the way we've been trained in our culture.
Revenge.
Okay, yeah.
Eye for an eye.
And so don't do it. It's saying don't do that. Oh. Anybody here have family members that you just have to get back at them? We're coming up on Thanksgiving. Isn't this an interesting idea? Do not play tit for tat with your neighbor, with your friends, with your political enemies. Your political enemies are actually your political friends. Now, here's an interesting idea. Everything we are is shown to us. So if I run into somebody that has words I don't like, what is that telling me? Anybody want to posit that?
Part of you that you.
That's part of me coming back at me.
You don't want to see.
Okay?
It's a mural.
So, do you want to be good to yourself?
Yeah.
You see, and some of you know that I was in industry and I ran plants and I did all that kind of stuff. And it was always fascinating to me that there were cliques. And it always fascinated me that they were trying to get things done. Okay? I can't tell you how many times I had to bust up cliques. And the whole idea behind that is man's justification for his words or our words. So the truth is, Madeline and I have been looking at this, and we were involved in a seminar for a while. She actually traveled the United States giving it or supporting it, and the I want to say perpetrator, but the guy that put that together was a brilliant guy. He really was. And he said people will actually go down to prove they're right.
Yep.
Have you ever seen anybody literally destroy their life just to prove they're right?
Yep. It's happening
Okay.
right now.
Huh?
It's happening right now.
Yeah, it is. You see it around you. And see, this is a direct violation of that idea. So which words are we going to follow? The world's words or Spirit's words? So it sounds crazy because the world is telling us you got to get back, you got to fight back, you got to sneak people out, whatever you have to do, you have to be underhanded. I've met some brilliant manipulators. And the process is coming back at me whatever I do. See, it's the old world that which I believe is happening to me. So it goes on. I need to read a little bit more. It says, therefore, if your enemy is hungry, feed them. If they thirst, give them drink. Now, it said enemy. Everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Why not?
Do you really believe that? That jerk next door that you don't like?
You have to.
Or how about that nephew or cousin that is a other than you in politics? Okay? You wouldn't believe how often these conversations come up. Give him drink, and in doing so you shall heap coals of fire on his head. Isn't that interesting?
Say that again?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like
This
that.
is spiritual now. Okay, it says, therefore if your enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in doing so you shall heap coals of fire on his head. Have you ever baffled somebody that has been arguing with you by saying, boy, you're great, I love you? Have you tried it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it works. It's amazing. Because they don't want to hear that. Now, we're talking about a completely different strategy in words in life. There's a difference in words. Words like love, grace, bliss, happiness, joy, appreciation, gratitude, they are what we call positive words, and they have an energy to them. Do you ever notice when you are thankful, like it's Oprah talks about the gratitude journal, and how many successful people have you heard talking about being grateful? And right now there's a movement out to let's call malign some of the billionaires in the world. How many of them are donating millions and billions of dollars to things when all we talk about is their money? We don't talk about them donating.
Right.
Now, I'm not trying to get on any political side. I'm just saying, look at the words, look at the intent, and look at where you are and what are we doing? What kind of words are we associating with? So words of love, words of praise, words of appreciation, words of gratitude are the example. Valerie,
So metaphysically,
this morning, yes?
yeah, so metaphysically, heaping coals of light could be also interpreted as shedding light upon
Yes.
or shining light on. So
Yeah.
you're shining light on your enemy's thoughts while you're also shining light, even though heaping coals upon your enemy's head, that light comes back to you too. So
Yeah, which is the recompense. The recompense was a different word for me. I hadn't heard it before. By the way, you need to be in her class. So that's Sunday mornings, 9 o'clock, right?
Yes!
That book, the heart-based metaphysics,
Heart Center Metaphysics.
it's an amazing book.
It's a really good class.
It is deep, because see, there's a whole different language and understanding what is said in the spiritual writings of the world, actually. And what does it mean? What do ideas and doesn't name Jesus mean? What do these things mean? And so thank you for that interpretation. I'm thinking about that. It could also be the light of shining light, but it also could be burning out. Because the original hell was Gehenna, which was the dump where they burned things every night, rather than that dark place. Very interesting. Okay, I'm getting a lesson too. Which, by the way, every day. Thank you. Okay, therefore, be not overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So we're back to the original idea of speaking the word. And the word is positive. So see, for years, how many times have you heard about the people looking for the magical word to change everything? You know, theoretically, abracadabra is supposed to be a magical word. And we're always looking for the right word. Scientists have been looking for, you talk about the alchemists of the Middle Ages and all the work and effort that's been done. And what I realized in reading this was, every word I speak is the magic word. Take that in. Every word I speak, every word you speak is the magic word. Creating what you're speaking. So Valerie, when she was doing her meditation, she wanted us to breathe. Now, here's the idea. Here's an interesting idea, and we're going to be working more in these areas. At the mystical levels, the silence is taking no thought, or not having words in your head. Anybody agree that's a challenge? So what she was doing was getting you into a breathing pattern that would allow you to release the words. Okay, which is more of an idea where we're headed. That's kind of like what we're going to be doing on Friday night after the first of the year. So these ideas are there. They've been there for centuries. And the words we speak. So I'm asking me and us to take a look at the words. Has anybody ever recorded yourself?
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. Okay, just record a conversation you have with one of your loved ones and see how many times you use a negative word versus a positive word. It's really fascinating to me.
Can I plug Tuesday night centering prayer?
Yes, please.
So along with the Friday night meditation that we're going to do, the Tuesday night centering prayer is that process of going into the silence for 20 minutes and learning how to let go of the thoughts so that you can connect with divine spirit. So there's just that quick
Can you expound on that? A lot of people say that it's good to speak it, but a lot of people don't go a little bit deeper on what you mean by divine spirit.
So I'm going to do this and then you take it.
I
Right.
know, I know, but a lot of people
Yeah.
say it, but they don't really feel it.
Yeah. So
They don't know how. They haven't been trained.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, so we're all created by a creator. And in unity, we honor all of the spiritual paths. So whatever you want to call that creative spirit is, that's fine. But it's connecting to that spirit, the energy, the universal energy that created and continues to create. And how do we connect into that creative spirit to create a world that works for us and a world that works for all?
That's a lot of creating.
It is.
Just joking.
It is a lot.
It's an interesting idea.
Yes.
So a lot of folks in the room know that I used to do a lot of motivational goal-setting ideas, which is using the spiritual powers for good here, but still control. In other words, I'm using my spiritual energies to control something, which sooner or later is going to backfire. Okay? And the idea behind it is, as she said, we believe there's an original source. God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, and on Genesis 1:37 it says, and everything he created was perfect. Which means deep inside of you, you have a pattern that's perfect. So you don't need to do anything other than return to that pattern and let that pattern come out in your life. Now that's difficult because the world has so conditioned us with all this stuff overriding it. So it takes time. Now, in meditation is silence, but it takes years to reach a point where you can reach that point. So in the beginning, most people are discouraged because they sit down to be quiet and a minute later their mind won't shut up. But that's part of the process. So centering prayer, which she handles on Tuesday night, is part of a process of learning over a period of time to return to the original state and how to do that. Okay, now we're going to be bringing in bringing in some other ideas on top of that. Okay, one of the books I've been reading is the. You ready for this? Some of you. Valerie has a copy of this. Becoming Supernatural. Hello? Anybody interested in that one?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. Okay, and this is by Joe Dispenza, and it talks about all these ideas with a few more things in it. I would like you to read that as an ending to what I'm talking about. Okay? And Joe, in this book, says, this is on page 44, something as simple as moving into an elevated state of joy, love, inspiration, or gratitude by your words for 5 to 10 minutes a day can produce significant and epigenetic changes in your health and body. I want to refine and define epigenetic. Everybody? Okay, epigenetic is a new idea that you change your DNA by your thoughts. Now, science has said for years you're stuck with your DNA. They know that your thinking now can change epigenetic, your DNA, and produce the original divine results. It takes time. So all it's saying is using positive, loving words 5 to 10 minutes a day can bring change in your life. So if that's true, how about 10 or 15 minutes a day? How about taking 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon and going into the silence, and if you have to, because the mind won't slow down, use affirmations like Valerie was talking about. Go do the daily word 20 times, I don't know. Whatever you have to do to keep a divine thought for 20 minutes in the morning. And that's what we're talking about. So by your words are you justified, made holy, or by your words are you found guilty, which I'm not even going to define that, okay? All I know is I love you, I appreciate you. You have no idea as a power group about what you are, and I know each of you individual has the Christ within you and the capability to do amazing things above and beyond where you are right now. But we also love each other and appreciate each other. And the main thing is let's stay together and go to where we need to go. And by the way, we're going to build that church.
Yes.
I think I'm finished. I've said enough. I love you, right. Where did I go?